Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If you would hit the subscribe button. If you like the video and like the content, hit the like button. If you want to be notified when I'm posting a new video, hit the bell icon. So today will be my first video that I'm going to make for the channel. So bear with me. Please keep the laughter to a minimum. This is my first time trying to edit this. There will be basically voiceover pictures because I thought of this venture well after I got started on this project, like I said in the intro video. So the other thing you have to keep in mind is this is over about 6 or 7 months worth of work in this video. The order that you are seeing the pictures is not the way that I worked on the car. It is basically the way, make more sense the way the pictures are now, other than how I worked on it, because I was basically all over the place, waiting on parts and doing what I can when I could. So let's get into it. All right, so like I said, this took about 6 or 7 months to get to my first practice race, my first test and tune with the car, to basically make sure that all the work I did paid off and the car goes straight. So I bought the car in March of 2023, and I started working on it. I got it in the shop, started working on it in April, about the middle of April. So between April and October, I worked on the car, ordering parts, trying to work out all the bugs in the car, just to basically take it from where the original owner, or the owner I bought it from, told me that the car was, all over the track. And so basically when I went to the track, that I would be able to go straight down with no issues. At least that was my hope. So this is basically a documentation of what I found on the car, what I did going through it, what I added, what I fixed. So basically from here on out, what you'll see is basically a picture timeline of the way the car was from the day I bought it to rolling it out of the shop and taking it to the track for the first time. So enjoy the video. Thank you. So I just wanted to jump on here real quick one last time, give a little more detail. So I bought the car off Marketplace, and when I was dealing with the guy that owned the car that I bought it from, he really didn't have a lot of information. He didn't know a whole lot about the car. I'm not sure why. It's no fault of his. I'm the one that made the decision to buy it. He told me what the car had in it. As we'll find out, it wasn't necessarily 100% true or factual. I still have no idea what motor I really have, or exactly what transmission I have. I mean, I know it's a Power Glide, but I really don't know 100% what it is. And I don't know if the motor is the motor that he said it is, or if it's something else. I've had this car at the track a couple times already, and people have told me different stories that they knew the original owner of the car. So like I said, it's no fault of his. When I went to go get the car, we had kind of agreed on a price, but I pretty much told him that I wasn't going to pay that. When I went to look at it, it did run, it did drive, everything worked. He told me it was 100% race ready. All I had to do was load it up, put fuel in it, and go to the track. You will see that I wouldn't have taken it to the track the way it was, especially with the fuel line issues that I saw on it. But so he had me there, so I was basically at his mercy. It was either buy the car for what we had agreed on, even though I didn't want to pay that just because of all the things I did see wrong with it, and I knew I was gonna have to replace even before I went to the track. Um, but it was either buy it or leave empty-handed. Um, there was a bunch of other cars that I saw, but they were, twice as much. Um, so I knew I couldn't buy the car for what I was paying, or build the car for what I was paying for it. So I took a little bit of a hit that way, but I've always wanted the car that I got, and I don't think I said, but it's a '73 Vega. It does have a VIN, but it's not a titled car, so I'd have to find a title if I ever wanted to register it. But I'm not really pursuing that aspect for now. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little more information on it. So I ended up buying the car, and then you'll see the work I had to do to it to get it where I was comfortable with taking it to the track. So just a little update, more of an update. So sorry, one more thing. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't do what I'm probably doing right now, but I just also wanted to let everybody know I'm not going to hold any punches. I'm not going to hide anything. You'll know everything about this car. And for racing aspects, it's probably not the greatest thing to do because if you're local and you pull up next to me, you're going to know exactly what my car is doing. You're going to know exactly how consistent my car is. You're going to know what I'm launching at, what I'm shifting at, what rear end I've got, what tires I've got. I mean, you're going to know everything there is to know about this car. That doesn't help me win races really, for the simple fact that it's a huge disadvantage. I think, in my opinion, it's worth it for what I'm doing. And it's the whole reason I'm doing this channel is to help somebody that's in basically my scheme of things, I guess, is you got a car, you're trying to figure this out by yourself with little to no help, and you're just trying to get the car to the racetrack and get it to go down the track. So it's basically just trying to help out somebody that's following in my same shoes, so they can go out and enjoy the sport and get into it, and meet people like I have, and to get other help from other people. And I'm available with my limited knowledge of doing this to help anybody out as well. So yeah, like I said, it's a disadvantage to me to pulling up next to somebody that is viewing this channel to know exactly what I'm doing and how my program's working. But then again, that's not why I'm doing this, to hide anything. I want to be completely open and honest about what I'm doing to the car and the fixes I'm doing to the car and everything else. So it is what it is, and I'll take it. But even if you know exactly what it is, you still have to have a better reaction time than I have, and you're still going to have to beat me down the track. So I'll take my chances. So thanks. So here are just a few pictures of me getting a car in the shop, getting it jacked up on jack stands, so I could get a real good look at the car. Took the front end, the doors, the hatch, anything I could, real quick, get off, just to get some pictures and look the car over to see basically what I bought and see how the car was put together and what I had gotten myself into. Here's a picture of my initial spring and shock settings before I removed the rear end. This gave me a baseline that when I put it all back together, I would know if I was putting it back together the same or if I was doing any changes. So here we got the rear end assembly out of the car, shock, springs, ladder bars, rear end assembly, and wheelie bars. So I knew I wanted to put this back together and pretty close to exactly how it came apart. So I marked everything, how it came out. I sanded everything down, I corrosion protected everything, and as you can see, then I just started basically slowly starting to repaint everything, um, taped over all the threads and nuts and all the hardware so I wouldn't get any paint on anything so I could still make adjustments. So, and then basically got all of it put back together and ready to go back in the car. So I basically did the same thing to the front clip. I took it off, sanded down all the bars, corrosion protected them, and then repainted them and the headlight assembly buckets. So these next two pictures are shocking to me that the car even ran. What you're seeing is the fuel lines. One's on the bottom of the car and it's almost completely crimped and shut off. And then the other one where the zip tie was holding it to the roll cage. It's just shocking to me that this car ran and did anything. So these are the pictures of how I fixed it. So I just cut the aluminum fuel line right before the crease and put in braided steel lines with all new fittings all the way up to the fuel regulator. In these next pictures, you can just see the condition of the underside of the car and the chassis and just how much rust and corrosion was on it. So I did the same thing I did everywhere else is I sanded all this down, rust treated everything, and then just started to repaint. But just the overall condition of it was really bad, and there was no major rust or anything on it, but it was definitely needing to get done. So I'm glad I caught it when I did. When I got to the back of the car in the tubs, you can see I basically removed all the tin and all the metal back there because the inner fenders were bad, around the window channels were real bad, and it was just a nightmare. But we got it all fixed and we all got it all treated and we got it all painted, and hopefully I won't have to worry about this for a while. And then you can see that I went back over after everything was wiped down and just started respraying everything, got everything painted, got the chassis looking pretty good in my opinion. So it shouldn't be a problem in the future for some time, as long as I keep the car and out of the rain and out of the weather. So I moved on to the roll cage. There wasn't a whole lot of rust on the cage except the bar that was underneath the dash and some of the other stuff under the dash. But I did the same thing. So I sanded everything down, wiped everything down with corrosion protection, and then I repainted it. I did paint it silver just because I was told that that would show an imperfection if something did come up. So we moved on to the passenger side quarter panel. When I bought the car, there was a bunch of paint bubbles. I knew that there was rust underneath of it. I just didn't know how bad. So I got to the point where I scraped off all the paint down to bare metal, and this is what I found. It was a lot worse than what I thought it was. So I didn't know exactly how I was going to address it at the time. So I sprayed my rust inhibitor on it, and after it was dry, then I just put some metal etch primer on it, and so I could have time to figure out how I was going to address it and how I was going to fix it. So the more I thought about it, the more I was worried that there was something else hiding that hasn't raised its head yet. So I wanted to remove the rest of the paint from the passenger fender just to make sure that nothing else was hiding. So in the removal process of paint, and I found all this Bondo on it. Whoever did it did a really good job reshaping the fender, but it was just an excessive amount of Bondo on there. But I did get everything down to bare metal, and it didn't make anything any better. These pictures basically show what I found underneath of it and what I had to work with, and I was at a loss of how I was going to proceed from here. So, being I didn't know how I was going to fix it, I sprayed my rust inhibitor on it and hit it with metal etch primer just so I could have some time to figure out how I was going to fix it. This was definitely not my first choice. This was kind of a last resort just because I wanted to try to get the car done so I could get it to the track and start testing. So I chose to do fiberglass patches. Normally, if I was working on any other car other than a race car, I would want to strangle somebody for doing this. But this is the way I chose to do it, just for a quick fix so it didn't look so bad. So this is just pictures of me putting fiberglass on the lip of the rear window and inside fender well to block off some of the holes. So I didn't want the fiberglass to show and be in the sun and the elements. So this was my attempt to do some basic body work. So I filled in most of the holes with Bondo and then sanded those all down. And then the gray primer was just to go over the Bondo spots, just to kind of make it look a little better if I could. So this is just a picture after I got all that done of all the tin and metal put back in, just basically showing that the car was starting to go back together and the light at the end of the tunnel was actually getting pretty close. So this is the only thing I added was an alternator. A few people I talked to told me that would help maintain battery voltage and that would help my electronics to be more stable. These next few pictures are just of the engine compartment, me trying to clean up the wiring, and just trying to keep everything away from the engine and the heat of the exhaust. I did try to put some header wrap around the spark plug wires just to, try to help keep the heat off of them. I doubt it's going to work, but that was just my thought process, and that's why you see it in the pictures. So the next couple pictures of me just cleaning up the wiring underneath the dash, and then also me trying to install a brake switch so the brake lights would actually work when I hit the brakes. The wife actually caught me working on the car, and that's why you see me in the picture up underneath the dash. So this is just a picture of the rear end going back in the car. I put it back into exactly how it was taken out with the same measurements and the same setup. So after I did that, I realized that it's probably not the smartest idea since the owner I bought it from told me that it went hard right off the line. So I decided to actually try to tune the rear end of the car. Being I'd never done any kind of suspension work, I actually found somebody on YouTube, and I'll put the link to him down in the comments, that basically gives out free advice. He's got other platforms that you can use, but I watched his YouTube videos that he's got, and he actually shows you how to tune your chassis. So I followed his video. So you'll see I've got basically a chalk line on the floor with a ruler taped to it, and where I made all my measurements from. And I actually found out that the rear end was way off. So I corrected the issues to square the rear end to the chassis and actually level it out. The cinder blocks you see in the car was you have to do this with a driver in it. So it's kind of hard for me to make adjustments and measurements and be in the car at the same time. So this is what I did to find my way around that. So this is the measurement sheet I had, and this is kind of how I squared everything and leveled everything out. These are off the floor measurements, so they're not true accurate measurements. I also leveled out the wheelie bars. They were way out, but now everything for the first time down the track is neutral, level, and square. So I have a known starting point, and from what I've heard in the videos, that's what you need to know to basically make adjustments from here on out. He also made a comment about knowing how much the car weighs and scaling the car. So I work with a guy that does circle track racing, and he has a set of scales. So he came down to the shop and helped me scale the car. So this is the real readings of the car at the first adjustment. Um, I was a little heavy on the passenger side, but all in all, I was pretty squared. So it was a really good starting point, and it also told me exactly what the car weighed, empty and with me in it. So before I go into the next picture, I got a kind of funny story. Um, like I said, the owner didn't really know a whole lot about the car, didn't give me a whole lot of information about the car. I did ask him about the parachute and if it worked when I bought it. He said he didn't know because he had never used it. So I did a bunch of research, watched a bunch of videos, and it basically told me that if the car got wet or was in a humid environment or hot for any length of time, that it was not correct to store it packed. So being that I have no idea how old this parachute was, I got the car back together, and pretty much that was the last thing I had to do. Was I wanted to test the chute, so when I went to the track and if I needed it, it would work. So I called the wife out, and I did not video this. I thought about that afterwards. It was pretty funny. So I had her watching the chute, and I got in the car and threw the chute handle, and I was expecting something to happen, and nothing happened. The chute did not come out of the bag. The spring did not come out of the bag. The bag did not unfold. It literally was like I still had the safety switch on, which I did not, but it never came out of the bag. So when I unpacked, or when I tried to open the bag, it was basically like concrete. I mean, it was cracking. I mean, it almost cracked off when I opened it. The spring basically didn't unload. It was completely rotted. There was a lot of the parts gone, and it was basically useless. The chute actually wasn't in bad shape, but by the time I bought all the parts to fix that chute, it was cost effective just to order a whole brand new chute. So that's what I ended up doing, and that's the picture you're seeing or gonna see is basically the chute sitting on the back of the car and not doing anything. And so, but I did replace the chute. So this is just a picture of the new chute that I ordered, and the next picture is of it actually mounted and put on the car ready to go. So I just put this picture in there just to show that the car was done. I'd done everything I wanted to do to it, and it was ready to get loaded and go to the track whenever I decided to go do that. So this is just some of the safety equipment I bought. I knew the car was at least a 10-second car, so I knew I needed some form of safety gear. Rumor had it that the car has been 8/8. So I went overboard on my neck brace just because I got a bad back and a bad neck. If I did get in trouble and get in an accident, I wanted to make sure that my neck was definitely protected because I enjoy walking. So this is just what I got. There's lots of options, but so this was the last piece to the puzzle. So I looked around, priced a bunch of different fuels, found some local dealers, and chose to go with this one. So I am running Renegade Pro 112 fuel. So with that said, we are basically ready to load everything up, put some fuel in this car, and go racing. So I just wanted to come on here again real quick and kind of do an intro to the video that you're fixing to see. So this is after I got all the work done on the car. This was basically the first fire up that I did on the car after it's been sitting in the shop for 6 or 7 months. I just basically wanted to check to make sure everything worked. I had put the alternator on. I had wired it up one of two ways. I chose the shorter way. As you'll see in the video, it didn't work. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any fuel leaks with all the fuel lines I had off. I just wanted to make sure everything still worked. The motor ran. The car basically functioned as it should. And it did. I had a couple fuel leaks that I had to fix. And of course I had to reroute the power wire off of the alternator because it obviously did not work. So that's the video that you're fixing to see. So real quick, before the next video. So what you're going to see is I rerouted the power wire from the alternator straight back to the battery instead of the starter like I had it before. I tightened up all the fuel lines, and I actually found another leak. It was actually leaking in the fuel pump in between the two videos that you're going to see, so I had to replace the fuel pump because it was leaking somewhere where I couldn't fix it. So I installed a new fuel pump. So this video basically shows the car starting up again. I'm checking it over, making sure nothing's leaking in the two places where I fixed the fuel line. And I also wanted to make sure that the emergency off switch worked, which it did this time. I didn't get that in the video, but I also wanted to make sure that the alternator was working and supplying a charge to the battery, which you'll see it does with my reaction when I took the reading. So basically this was the last time I ran it before I loaded it on a trailer and took it out for my first test night. Alright, so that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you saw anything I needed to improve or you didn't like or whatever, shoot me a comment down and I'll try to explain better if I didn't explain it good enough in the video. If you would, hit the subscribe button. That helps me out. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up. And like I said, if you want to see when the next video is going to come out, please hit the bell icon and that'll notify you when it's coming out. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. The next video will be coming out soon, and that will be the first time the car is ever at the track with me driving it. So stay tuned.